Hello, my friends. I'm not going to be doing a pour tonight. Instead, I'm going to be sharing some ideas for embellishing a pour that might need a little help, such as this one. It's pretty, but I feel it needs to be kicked up a notch with some addition. So I'm going to kind of think through it and try to explain how I do it. So just at a glance, it looks like flowers and stems, and so that's where I'm going to go with it. Sometimes I go directly to the canvas with paint. I like oil and acrylic, mostly oil. But other times I experiment on a piece of paper first, just make a color copy of it, and use colored pencils to play around with, because if you do something you don't like, then you can erase it, whereas if you painted, you'd have a problem. So let's get started. So looking at this, I see a lot of movement, very organic lines, but I also always like to incorporate some geometry into a piece. And I see almost a natural circle here anyway. So what I'm going to do is take a plate. If I had a compass, I might use that. This doesn't have to be exact because, again, this is just a practice piece for the real thing. And kind of work with this. Maybe I just want an arch instead of a circle. I don't know. I'm just going to work up in this area. Don't have time to do the whole thing, but so that decision remains to be seen. But what I would do is kind of shade that in to enhance it a bit. Instead of just an outline, I'd feather in some color. Normally I'd be turning the paper for ease, but I'm afraid I'll be out of camera view if I do that, so I have to do it. I'm not that limber. I think it's still in there. Anyway, just kind of gently feather in, lightening your pressure until it disappears. Maybe a little darker on the edge. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but that's kind of the idea there. And where it doesn't show, you could use an actual color, blend it into your white there. Okay, it's already taking some shape. All right, now this kind of looks like a leaf here, but it's not defined enough, so I'll just use what I have. I like to let the pour lead me, tell me where to go with it. So I'll just make this into a leaf shape there. It's already got shading, so I'm just gonna fill it in with, and this is how I would paint it too. I would use a medium tone green and start with that, and then dark, draw my vein line in, and get some light. I want sharp pencils. Yeah, you get the idea. I normally I'd be taking a lot more time on this than I am, but all right. It's pretty ugly underneath there. That it's just gray. So let's liven that up with a bit of a tint of color, maybe yellow. Yellow looks, bridges the green and the blue. Just play. And if you were doing this in paint, you would just use a very light wash of color. Almost like a watercolor, just thin your paints down a lot. I'm going to go pretty dark in here. That's pretty. Maybe we'll throw in a little cast shadow down there. Their shadow should be a darker version of the color it's laying on. Yeah, just dark yellow. We'll use this is kind of a burnt terracotta color. I kind of lifted the leaf up a bit, and if I add a little, where's my white? These. There, that's better, I guess. I can't take too much time, whoops. Okay, we'll call that done. Let's work on this side. This is almost the same value as the background. You can't really see it, so that definitely needs some help. Let's maybe bring this blue over. I'll just start by kind of outlining that area. That shape is very pleasing, but I want to make it stand out a little better. So I'm just tinting what's already there with color. This kind of looks like a stem. If I went real green on that. I don't have the best colors out with me, but that's a very green, blue-green. I shouldn't be using that one. That's a little better. Well, anyway, let's pretend that's not a beautiful green stem, and I want it to look like it's closer to us than that it's resting on here. So I'm going to darken this shadow on this side. See how that gives dimension to it? Very, very light touch. Blending colors together. You can do many layers. All right, we'll call that done for now. Let's work on this flower a little bit. I would normally take a white colored pencil, but I don't know that you'll be able to see it that well on here, so I'm using a gel pen. And I'm just going to quickly sketch in. Oh my gosh, I'm not wearing my glasses. Oh wow, I can see better. I'm going to just lightly sketch in some petal-y things here. Petal shapes. Incorporating what's already there. Maybe put 2 layers of them. You know, just have fun with it. And then you can enhance the colors. I'm going to put the lid on. I want it drying out. You can enhance the colors all you want. We'll make this pretty dark under here. It's very pretty already right there. We'll just touch up a little bit of it. Add some orange. If you watched my other videos, you know I love purple and orange, so let's do some of that here. I can't get away from it. Anyway, just have fun with it. How about the center? Let's call this the center of the flower. That was there in the pour. I think I used a balloon, probably. I'm sure, and so I'm making little like seed pockety things, and I'll lighten it up with a little yellow and shade it with a little bit of orange. Orange and, you guessed it, purple. I'm not a big purple fan, but I do like those two colors together. And maybe highlight white. Let me shade some of those little things there. Give them a little bumpy texture. I normally, again, I would take a lot more time with this, but I don't want this video to go on forever. You get the idea. Maybe shade under these petals so they lift off the surface as well. Feather it out. Don't outline. Don't outline with the same color anyway. Switch it up. Blend them together. Continue. Oh, it's so much fun. I don't know that the gel pen was a great idea. Maybe it is. It looks kind of good. What else can I do? I would make this probably a green stem as well. Let me, oh, I know. Everybody likes dewdrops. Let me show you how to make a simple dewdrop. So I'll make this green and we'll put a dewdrop hanging off of there. How's that? A little shadow, a little basic, and then maybe this lovely chartreuse color for highlight. Okay, good enough. All right, dewdrops. The dewdrop is going to be, you're going to start with a color that's a little bit darker than whatever it's resting on. So let's make one right here on this purple. I hope you can see it. I'll take you down a little bit closer. I hope that's still clear and in the camera view. Yeah, I think it is. Okay. That is really quite dark there. I'll put it down here so you can see. I'm afraid you may not see it there. Let's pretend that's purple. Anyway, I'm going to do a nice round dewdrop there. So you start it, and I'm doing it darker than I normally would for the purposes of illustration there. Shade one side. The underside, the light's coming from this direction. That's why there's a shadow here and it's lighter over there. Shade under there on the bottom, not all the way around the bottom, and then inside the drop on the top half or so. Then take white and shade inside the drop right next to the shadow on the bottom and blend those two together, maintaining your shape. Go back there and blend this in. There's a glare. I hope there isn't a glare for you. All right, now it looks rather dull and flat, but now is when you take a gel pen and you add just a little life light to the dark side inside the deal, just inside the dewdrop, just a dot and maybe a tiny little dash, and the tiniest little one on the other side of reflective light. It shouldn't be as bright. And there's your dewdrop. You can darken. Might need to be darker under here to stand out more, but don't go around the whole thing. Maybe darken there and lighten inside a bit more. From where I'm sitting, it looks pretty good. I can't really tell. There is a glare, but I think it's a decent drop. All right, let's do one hanging off of that, an oblong one hanging off of that stem. Now, what color shall I make? I'll do this. I'll make this kind of blue so it shows up a little better. All right, so I want a darker blue than this. You want it in the same family, but this is good. So let's have this one hanging off of here. That's my dewdrop there. So I'm going to shade it on the bottom and just maybe halfway up the top there. Add a little shade at the top of it, the opposite inside the drop, opposite end of the shadow. Maybe not as dark. This should be a bit darker. I'm having a difficult time seeing this. Okay, well, you get the idea. And then the white goes, the white or a light blue, could have done that. Goes in the bottom half. I'll blend those two together. I would do a lot of layers, and with paint, it's actually even easier. All right, that's not blended beautifully together, but I gotta move on here. So, and then you're gonna bring on a dripping one. It's gonna be a little bit of a longer line, maybe, with a dot there, a tiny dot there. Well, that's not the best example. Okay, let's move on. One more. We'll do one on the top of the stem. How about that? That's blue back there, so I'm going to do kind of a half moon shape. Now that one's a little tricky because the light's coming from there, so you're going to shade right on the stem. Inside the drop, opposite the shadowing. And let me show you what I meant by using, you don't have to use white. You can use a very light shade of the drop color. So I'm using a powder blue here. A little bit darker here. Feather it out. Maybe that needs to be a little darker. And the magic gel pen. There you go. So I hope this gave you some ideas. You don't have to leave your pores the way they are. You can enhance them. In fact, this is quite pretty. You could frame this if you want and forget about enhancing the pore. Just stop at this, with this. But let the pore direct you. Oftentimes, of course, there's flowers. There might be butterflies, animals. Just even shading areas brings more interest. Yeah, and darken up the little corners. Try to get a focal point. Doesn't always have to be in the middle. It shouldn't be in the middle, in fact. So, I might make this flower quite detailed and then these a little less and make this my focal point up there. Anyway, I hope you learned something, enjoyed this. I'm going to get back to pouring tomorrow. And I hope you will return and join me. So, let me see if I can bring you in really close without losing definition. Which I can't see. I have no idea. Well, we'll call that good, and I'll post a picture. I'll post a close-up of that section and show you. Okay, thank you, folks. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.